Hey Taria, so you say this exactly. I have so many family members I don't talk to anymore. So many of them was a huge shock because I thought they were better than that. And first and foremost, I would like to say thank you so much for your transparency. But thing number two is that when you're talking about extending the benefit of the doubt to people or presumption of good intent, that is something that is immediately offered to white people and is a vestige of white privilege that is not afforded to black people. Even the notion that you are innocent until proven guilty, that's something that's not been true for a lot of people of color and or black people. And so when it comes down to this particular administration, it is very interesting how a lot of people are now being negatively impacted by the laws executive orders, and things that they're trying to implement that he said he was going to implement while they also still voted for him. And that's because despite what he has said that he's seriously thinking about doing, it is a very interesting mental gymnastic that a lot of people have performed to then discount what he has said, to then discount his intention of being able to do it and his intention to inflict harm, right? Because President Trump said that he was like, look, I don't think it's right to be able to, separate families and stuff like that, but because it's not right, I'll deport U.S. citizens as well. And nobody said anything about that. Nobody was like, wait, what? U.S. citizens being deported, huh? So now we have all of these U.S. citizens that are literally being mass deported with no legal proceedings, right? Which is illegal. Okay, getting rounded up like cattle, being thrown on planes, and just being tossed all over the place as U.S. citizens, as military vets. And people are still underneath the belief, I didn't take him seriously. I didn't think he was going to do it. And the reality is that I think it's a very interesting concept when you consider the fact that his reputation precedes him. So this isn't our first term with this president. This is our second. And in the first term, he literally had national bans against certain nations that prohibited people that were trying to come back into the country from being able to get into the country because he wrote an executive order banning people from specific countries, even though they are U.S. citizens. So he has already proven and has a track record that this is what he will do. And when he says that he's going to do it again, everybody's just kind of like, oh no, he didn't really mean that one. And it's like, that's a very interesting ability, privilege that is able to be extended to white people across the board. Because when it comes down to racism and stuff like that, I had a friend in college who was, she was black and her roommate was white. And her roommate's dad and grandfather were grand wizards in the KKK. She went to the head of the RAs and said, hey, I don't really feel comfortable sharing a room with this individual because she has voiced to me that there's nothing wrong with the KKK and that they're a great organization and that her family is a part of this group. And as a minority and what they have done to people like me, I don't feel safe. Do you know that white woman replied, I don't think that she meant it that way. And she was forced to stay in that room. And there are a lot of instances where this benefit of the doubt puts black people and minorities in danger. And that's whether you're friends, that's whether you're colleagues, that's whether you're coworkers, that's even if you're family members, right? Because of the fact that innately white people tend to extend benefits of the doubts to other white people, despite what they say, especially if they are family members. And the only way that they find out that things that they actually meant what they were going to do, or they actually intended harm, is after the fact. And that's the difference between white people and black people, is that black people are preventative. White people in this instance are reactionary. And so you see a lot of reactions that are going on in this country with trying to figure out how people are going to survive because they voted for a man that they didn't take seriously what he was saying when he was running for president. It's an interesting notion. Not to mention the fact that when you're talking about atrocities and things being done to people groups, right? The most atrocious thing that has happened in modern history to white people, and I do use quotation marks because I don't know if they would see themselves as white, more so, or more so as Jews, right? But you have to come to the realization that that whole thing was carried out by white people, right? Like, white people inflicted harm on their own white people by delineating what country they may be originally from, by delineating features that separate them, right? Brown eyes, brown hair versus blonde hair, blue eyes. Like that is a very interesting notion, to want to rule people within your own ethnic group, so to speak. And they were your own countrymen, right? Because a lot of the Jews that were in Germany were born in Germany. Like, do you see how interesting that gets?